Welcome back to Roto Moto. My name is Donnie. In this video, I will cover 5 riders I want you to look at when making your PulpMX fantasy picks for Washougal, tips for picking FFL, the weather report, race day schedule, and an early look at what my team could be come Saturday. But first, let's take a moment to recap what went down last weekend at Spring Creek Raceway. Total players were down again, just losing about 150 players to 7,167, of which about 4,700 paid to play and hopefully win some prizes. The potential perfect score this weekend was a massive 636. If you nailed LeMay and Kelly each for 100, Thurman, Ramella, Mosman, and Anstie throw in a very easy to guess FFLs, and a very cursed 666 points could have been yours, but the popular team was much less. 365 on the day with a big fat 0 from both Shock and Thrasher, who had 2 of the highest pick trends on the day. Players that picked an FFL were again down about a single percent in both classes, despite Justin Cooper and Ken Roxon extending their lead of FFLs on the season. The median champ score was almost identical to the popular team at 367, meaning if you scored 368 points or more, you did better than half of the paying field. All-star selections per team fell again to a season low of 2.41, and the amount of non-all-stars that converted double points in both motos was just 29. The big takeaway on the weekend, oh boy, look at that massive amount of pick trend to miss double points in both motos. 153% is a season high, meaning that there were more teams with 2 guys that missed double than there were teams with 0. One of those people were me, just 365 on the weekend, which could have been drastically worse if I didn't pick and nail both FFLs. On paper, I'm still really stoked on this team, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. Fantasy sports is just educated gambling. We all know the odds are in our favor, but every now and then the dice come up snake eyes and there's nothing you can do but place another bet. 2 more first-timers on the top of the leaderboard of the Roto Moto League. Katumi pulled in 541 despite mediocre days from both of his all-stars, and K-Pavs has just a 15-point lead over second place after last week's league leader falters and gives up a ton of spots. Halfway through the season, it seems likely we will see at least one league member crest 5,000 points outdoors, which is wild. A couple big names to add to the injury report, starting with the biggest. Adam Cianciarola announced this weekend that he will sit out the remaining 6 rounds of the season so that he can hopefully get medical help with a nerve issue that has been plaguing him all season. Having no feeling in your throttle hand is definitely nothing I would want to experience, especially at the level that he's riding. An abrupt exit from Red Bull KTM's Caleb Russell as he announces his flat-out dirt bike retirement in the middle of the season. No doubt he and the team are disappointed in his results this season, but I don't blame the aging off-road legend for not having his heart in battling privateers for single-digit points. And finally, Nate Thrasher will add to the list after missing around for dislocating his shoulder in an early Moto 1 collision with Max Volan. No timetable to return, but hopefully we see him line up again this season. Do make sure to confirm that your rider is on the cheat sheets before putting them on your team, and for an even easier time, you can check a little box when selecting your team that says only show riders in AMA qualifying results to, you guessed it, only show guys that have put down at least a single lap time. It will still show you guys that crashed in qualifying that may miss, but hey, it is better than nothing. All right, on to your picks for the 2021 Washougal National. I have 3 guys to target, 1 to avoid, and a high handicap guy to look at for you gamblers out there, starting with the little class and working our way up. At this point in the season, I think I'm just going to go ahead and alternate Justin Cooper every other week as long as his handicap stays positive. He now has the red plate and has been the most consistent rider in the field all season. Best qualifier, best starter, best finisher. Justin has finished outside of the top 5 just a single moto this season and has been on the podium in 8 motos this season, including 5 of the past 6. All of the momentum is in his hands, and it's not often you get a guy with his stat line at a 2 handicap in an all-star spot. There might be guys with a better chance at maxing out both motos, but with how hard it is to guess that double-double, I want the highest floor with such a low ceiling. The rider I want you to stay away from in the 250 class is Max Volan. The Red Bull KTM rider in the class that did not retire has fallen in a weird rut of consistency. His 2 handicap is completely justified, but he has a massive 19% average pick trend this season despite a best moto finish of just 9th in his last 10 motos, and thus far he has failed to score inside the top 10 in both motos at any point this season. If you want to play it safe, he shouldn't burn you, but there's really just no upside here and much better picks elsewhere in the class. On the 450 side of things, I'm asking you to again look at Aaron Plessinger for your all-star needs. AP has finished outside of the top 5 in only 3 motos this season, and he doesn't even need top 5, as even a 6th would suffice his 5 handicap. His starts have been great, and finishes even better. Just 2 rounds ago, AP was sitting pretty 3rd in points, but a mechanical DNF and 0 points dropped him all the way back to 6th. But only 16 points separate him from that championship podium he fell from with 6 rounds to go, and I don't think there's anyone out there with more to prove. Another 450 guy I want you to look at is Justin Rodbell at an 8 handicap after some pretty big struggles in the first half of the season where he failed to score in the top 20 in all 6 motos. He's turned it around and consistently finished top 17 in all 6 motos since. Full disclosure, his best weekend this season is just 15-16, so there might not be a ton of headroom with this pick, but now that he's settled into his groove, it's not unlikely that the summer of Rodbell could still kick off with a great start at Washougal. The Pirelli MX Tire high handicap hero of the round given to a rider with a handicap of 10 or more that I think has a realistic chance to score massive points this weekend if you're the type of person that likes to sweat out 2 30-minute motos for a big payout. This week, we're looking at JMC Gas Rami Alves. At 13 handicap, the Florida native has been a consistent high handicap rock all season indoors and out. He did miss 2 rounds, so he only has 8 motos under his belt, but in those 8, he has done nothing but rack up a 19th place average finish, all within the top 5, finish as high as 14th with a grand total of 0 DNFs. What more could you ask for out of a 13 handicap guy? The only thing I want more is a way for Travis Marks to let me pick him every weekend since I am locked out for this weekend at Washougal. The FFL picture stays exactly the same. In the 250s, it's Justin Cooper or bust, as he has 7 in 12 motos, the only guy with more than 2. The 450 is a little clearer with AC and his 3 FFLs taken out of the season. Ken Roxon has 5 of the remaining 9, including 1 last weekend with the 40th gate pick and bruised ribs. The only other rider with more than 1 in the class is Plessinger, so he should probably be your counter pick if you need one. Interesting to note that Cooper Webb holds the absolute best average start in the class, despite no FFLs and no official hole shots to his name, even though he was definitely within a wheel of 1 a few weeks ago. Just something to think about. The weather looks great in the Pacific Northwest this weekend, sunny mid-80s as the first gates drop, tailing up to 90s as the final checkers fly, but most importantly, absolutely 0 precipitation and nothing more than a gentle breeze. We are heading back to the West Coast, so the schedule is a later one. Qualifying doesn't begin until 1 p.m. on the East, 10 a.m. Pacific. First gates drop and the picks lock about 3 hours later at 4 p.m. on the East Coast, 1 p.m. local time, and the racing will be broadcast live on both the Peacock app and every single moto will be live on MAV TV, as well as the final checkers flying shortly before 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Before I show you my very early team for Washougal, I just want to take a moment to talk about this video's sponsor. I'm excited to announce that Pirelli Tire is back with Roto Moto for the Washougal weekend. Pirelli remains dedicated to the grassroots part of the sport with their "We sell what we race what we sell" motto, providing you access to the very same Scorpion MX tires used by their professional racing teams, including world champions such as Tim Geiser and Jeffrey Hurlings, as well as fast privateer Derek Kelly, who rode his Pirelli Scorpions to the top of the 250 Spring Creek scoreboard with a perfect 100 points after going 19-17 in the motos. This approach has allowed Pirelli to place its research and development focus on motocross, benefiting the everyday rider when they take it to their local racetrack. My Thursday night team looks like this. I have Monster Energy, Star Racing Yamaha's Justin Cooper anchoring my 250 squad at a 2 handicap. I have Bar X Suzuki's Dylan Schwartz at a 5 handicap, hoping he put together 2 motos, flirting with the top 10 again. Styles Robertson has quietly been consistent the last 3 rounds, and I'm looking for more of that top 10 magic here with a 3, and rounding out my 250 squad is Pierce Brown, also at a 3. Slightly concerned after his going down in the second moto last weekend, so he's likely to be the first one pulled if anything looks awry. On the 450 side, I'm bringing another Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha athlete with Aaron Plessinger as my all-star at a 5, the Alaskan Assassin Ben LeMay on what I guess you could call his home track at an 11 after a great round last weekend, Jeremy Hand at a massive 15 handicap. He DNF'd Moto 2 last week, but his other 5 motos this season have all been within the top 25 and multiple top 20 finishes, and rounding out the squad is 0 handicap Marvin Muskin. He's another placeholder as I don't love the pick, but it's slim pickings in that midfield, and the 2 10+ handicaps I wanted a safer pick to balance those out. Don't forget to follow at RotoMoto on Twitter and Instagram for qualifying insights, injury updates, stats and banner as the race goes in, and of course those ever important fantasy cheat sheets. And if you want even more help making your picks, be sure to check out and subscribe to Roto Moto on Patreon for access to the enhanced cheat sheets, chock full of more data than you can imagine to help you make those huge point picks. I want to give a shout out to the current Patreon supporters. This channel is made possible by good people like first-time subscriber Jack of Hearts, as well as longtime supporters Sam, Andre C, and Nathan S. Thanks as always for watching Roto Moto. My name is Donnie. I will see you on race day.